Hello, I'm Bubba Herc. When I was 19, something happened that shattered everything. I thought I knew about life and death. I call it a near-death experience. Now, I'd like to share that story with you, not only because it changed my life, but because I believe it carries a message for all of us who might be caught up in day-to-day routines, forgetting how precious each moment truly is. Back in 2019, I was a freshman at Jacksonville University in northern Florida, a Division I school where I played baseball. I'd been playing since I was a kid. To me, baseball was more than just a sport. It was my identity, my passion, and a huge part of my dreams for the future. I was the kind of person who would get up before dawn to practice my swing or my throw, determined to keep improving. Every day on the diamond felt like a step closer to the possibility of a professional career. But that same year, I suffered a significant elbow injury. At first, I tried to push through the pain, ignoring it in practice sessions and telling myself it would get better. However, it grew worse, and eventually, the team doctors confirmed that I needed Tommy John surgery. This procedure, well known in the baseball world, involves reconstructing the ulnar collateral ligament in the elbow. Although it's somewhat common, especially for pitchers, it can sideline players for months or even a year, requiring intense rehab. Still, I told myself that it was a temporary roadblock. I'll get the surgery, heal up, and be back on the field. No big deal. Before the operation, a nurse asked me, "Are you allergic to anesthesia?" It was a routine question, but I'd never been under general anesthesia before. I simply said, "I don't think so." As soon as the words left my mouth, a strange chill rushed through me, like a distant warning. I remember looking at the nurse, feeling a sudden sense of unease, but I shrugged it off, chalking it up to nerves. After all, surgery is never fun, and anxiety before a procedure seemed perfectly normal. The following morning, I found myself in the pre-op area. Machines beeped steadily, and the sterile smell of disinfectant filled the air. The doctor calmly explained that they'd administer anesthesia through an IV, and I'd drift off to sleep within seconds. The surgery would take about an hour, and afterward I'd wake up groggy, but relieved to have it all behind me. It sounded straightforward. I was ready, tired of the pain and ready to get on with my life. But as they injected the anesthetic, something unexpected happened. I didn't lose consciousness. The seconds ticked by, turning into a full minute, and I still wasn't sleepy. I recall looking around, making eye contact with one of the surgical staff, trying to convey that I was still wide awake. They continued moving me into the operating room and prepping the equipment. My heart pounded. A small voice inside told me something was wrong, yet I kept trying to reassure myself that maybe it just took longer in my case. The doctors then began making the first incision. In that split second, I felt a sharp jolt, like an internal snap. Suddenly, my perspective shifted, and I found myself above my own body. It was the most bizarre sensation. One moment I was lying on the table, the next I was floating in the air, gazing down at my own physical form, which lay there motionless. My skin had turned a purplish blue color, then pale. Nearby, the heart monitor line flattened, emitting a continuous, ominous beep that signaled cardiac arrest. It was clear. I had just died. In the blink of an eye, the operating room vanished. No doctors, no pain, no body. Instead, I experienced a rapid replay of my entire life, as though someone pressed a rewind button on my memories. Every event, from my early childhood to that final moment in the OR, flooded my awareness in startling detail. But I wasn't just watching these memories. I was reliving them. I could feel the joy, the excitement, the sorrow, and the shame associated with each event. So vividly, it was as if time didn't exist. One memory that stuck with me was how my older brother and I used to fight when we were little. We were typical siblings, always arguing over the smallest things, from who got the bigger slice of pizza to whose turn it was to pick a TV show. My dad would sometimes intervene with punishment, using his belt, which, at the time, I saw as harsh and unfair. In my childhood mind, I resented him for it. But in that life review, I saw it from his perspective. I felt his frustration, his desire to discipline us in a way he believed would correct our behavior, and even his remorse afterward. That deeper understanding of his motives brought a clarity I'd never had before, and for the first time, I felt genuine empathy for the choices he made as a parent. As the reel of my life kept unfolding, I witnessed moments of personal weakness, times I'd been hurtful or selfish. I also saw moments of quiet kindness I'd practically forgotten, like helping a friend who was struggling with his own family issues, or comforting a younger cousin who was scared of the dark. Each scene was laid bare, not to judge me, but to show me everything. The impact of my actions on others and how each choice, big or small, shaped who I had become. By the end, I was overwhelmed by the realization that I wasn't living life to its fullest. There were things I wanted to say to people I loved, like telling my mom how much her sacrifices meant to me, and I'd always put them off. There were apologies I needed to make, and words of encouragement I should have given. I thought, I'm not ready to go. I haven't done enough. I haven't truly lived yet. Then, as quickly as it appeared, that wave of regret dissipated, and I was swept into an entirely new realm. Suddenly, I found myself in a place that looked and felt completely different from anything I'd ever known. It seemed as though I was surrounded by a crystal blue radiance, something reminiscent of being inside a vast, shimmering gemstone. The light there wasn't harsh. It felt calming, almost embracing. The usual chatter of the mind was gone. I didn't have thoughts and words anymore, but I was still me, aware of my identity and my memories. Then, out of this luminous expanse, my stepfather appeared, the man who had passed away 2 years prior. In life, we'd been close, bonding over basketball, because he'd played a bit in high school and loved to teach me the fundamentals. Here, in this uncanny, peaceful realm, he handed me a basketball, and we began to play, just like we used to when I was around 12. There was no talking, but I could feel his pride, love, and warmth. It was as if our hearts were communicating directly, without the limitation of words. We played for what felt like an eternity, though time had no meaning in this place. Eventually, he paused, stepping back with a look of gentle gravity. I heard his voice in my mind, though not as a sound, more like an immediate, inner knowing. Playtime is over. You haven't completed your mission. You can stay here or you can go back and finish what you started. Deep down, you know what you need to do. I looked around at this perfect, peaceful realm. There was no worry, no pain, no regrets. A part of me longed to remain there, but I felt a pull, like an invisible thread, drawing me back to the life I'd left behind. I remembered my family, my friends, and the many things I'd left undone. In that moment, I knew I had to return. The next thing I knew, everything went dark, and I felt myself being flung downward like a meteor falling from the sky. I snapped awake on the operating table, my body screaming with pain. The surgeons and nurses were all around, urgently trying to stabilize me. My mind was a whirlwind of shock and awe, trying to process what I had just been through. My heart hammered in my chest as though confirming, I'm alive. From that point on, nothing was the same. In the weeks that followed, I tried to deny what had happened. I kept telling myself it was a bizarre hallucination, some wild side effect of the anesthesia. But the vividness of the experience wouldn't leave me. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw the crystal blue realm, heard my stepfather's voice, and relived the life review that stripped away every excuse I ever made for not living more authentically. Still, for about 2 years, I attempted to move on, going to rehab for my elbow, back on the field, forcing myself to just focus on baseball. But the passion was gone. Every time I held the bat, an inner voice reminded me of my stepfather's words. "You have a greater mission." Eventually, I found the courage to delve into what I had experienced. I began reading about other near-death experiences, discovering that many people had gone through something similar. Their stories mirrored mine. The sense of detachment from the body, the life review, the intense feeling of unconditional love or peace, and the realization that our existence doesn't end with physical death. I studied books on spirituality and consciousness, meditated regularly to rediscover that sense of calm. I began journaling obsessively, trying to put into words the transformation happening inside me. One of the biggest changes was in my relationships. Where I had been more guarded before, I began telling my mother and my brother how much they meant to me. I apologized to friends I'd drifted apart from, taking responsibility for my mistakes. I also found new ways to be kind. Sometimes small gestures like really listening when someone needed to talk, or sending a heartfelt message to a friend who was struggling. Each act felt like a step toward living with the openness and authenticity that my life review had shown me was so important. Perhaps the most challenging part was opening up about my near-death experience. At first, I only told a few close friends. Some reacted with astonishment or skepticism. Others found it comforting or inspiring. Over time, I felt compelled to share it more widely, despite my fears of being judged or dismissed. The experience was too profound to keep to myself. And if my story could help even one person remember to cherish life, it would be worth it. Eventually, I realized that my calling wasn't to return to baseball at the highest level. That dream had served its purpose in my journey, but a new vision for my life had emerged. To remind people of the fragile, precious gift we're given each day. I wanted to encourage others to mend broken relationships, speak the words they've been holding back, and embrace the beauty in even the smallest acts of love. Before this event, I believed death was the end, a silent void where everything simply stopped. Now I know it's a transition into another state of being. Consciousness, love, and memory persist, guiding us into a place where we can reflect on our choices and gain new insights. This realization has lifted so much fear from my life. I'm no longer terrified by the thought of dying because I've glimpsed what lies beyond. And it's nothing to fear. If anything, it's taught me to be more present, to live more deeply, and to nurture the bonds I have with others. So, if you're reading or hearing this story, I hope you'll see it as a gentle nudge, an invitation to appreciate every breath, every ray of sunshine, every kind word you can offer or receive. Don't wait until you're on the brink of losing everything to realize how much you cherish it. Hug your loved ones a little tighter. Tell them how you feel. Share your gratitude, your apologies, and your hopes. In the end, we don't know how many days we have left, but we do know how we can spend them. By living wholeheartedly, by loving unconditionally, and by recognizing that we're all part of something far greater than we might ever have imagined. When the final moment comes knocking, I hope you can greet it with peace and a gentle smile, knowing you've loved well, lived fully, and truly embraced the mission set before you. If this story resonates with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to discover more near-death experiences. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.